All right, what's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to go over the Kanekoa versus Darren Godfrey fight from Power Slap 9. So, on this card, there were so many weird, controversial calls and decisions, but this one takes the cake. So, Kaili'i is also known as the Chief, and so for the ease of saying his name, I'm just going to refer to him as the Chief in this video. So if you go back to my Instagram on my official picks for Power Slap 9, I picked the Chief to win by first round TKO since he won the coin toss. But if you look, I actually picked that it would be on the second slap of the first round. I was absolutely convinced that they were going to call Godfrey on a flinch here because, let's be honest, he flinches absolutely every time he's ever been slapped. Ever. And so I was like, I see no reason why he wouldn't do it again. I mean, he's been getting away with it his entire career. And so my mindset for how the fight would play out, you know what? He got away with it on the show, but there's no way they're going to let it slide on a numbered card because Power Slap wants their knockouts, man. And so that's where my head was at. For a second there, I was thinking that I was going to literally call the exact outcome, which is that's a pretty bold prediction that I made there, but I was very confident in it. To be quite honest with you, it should have happened. Whether or not he knocked him out on the second slap, that's neither here nor there. I mean, there's a chance that he could have, there's a chance that he couldn't have. But the fact that they didn't call him for a flinch there was pretty ridiculous, man. But yeah, anyway, so the Chief, he won the toss, and so he was slapping first, and he's never lost a coin toss. So I'd be curious to see if he was worried about him flinching because, I was worried about flinching. I was worried about Godfrey flinching, so I can't imagine that didn't go through the Chief's head or his camp's head. Okay, so the ref for this fight was Mark Smith, and traditionally he's a pretty decent ref. He tends, from what I've noticed, to be very lenient on the offensive side and pretty strict on the defensive side. Now, I didn't know that he was going to be the ref for this specific fight. Had I known, I would probably feel even better than I had felt before, knowing that he's pretty strict on the flinching. But, my goodness, this guy, you want to talk about, there's off days in the office, and then there's holy shit. So the Chief's lining up, right? And he does the Hawaii lean on one, where he measures, and they do a lean before they strike to give themselves a little bit more of an angle and more leverage. And this can be an intimidating slap. In my opinion, you don't have the 1-2 to brace, so you're really just knowing that the second his hand leaves your face on the measure that you're about to take that hammer. And so, if there was ever a setup for a flinch, right on one is probably even worse for it. So that definitely didn't help the case. But yeah, anyway, so if you want to talk about a setup for a flinch, this checked all the boxes, man. This checked all the boxes. Again, if I knew Mark Smith was the ref for this particular fight, I would have been even more confident in my pick. So it really was surprising. But anyway, yeah, so the Chief lines up, calls his right on one. And so I actually have video today. Typically on these fight breakdowns, they're just audio, and it's, made with the idea that whoever's listening has already seen the fight. Now, in this particular video, we're going to change that up a little bit because there's just no way to really describe how much he flinched without showing you and without showing markers of where he started and where his head was by the time he took the strike. So yeah, we're going to go over that. So there's levels to flinching. There's different types of flinching. There's something like Paige Van Zandt or the Crazy Hawaiian tend to do, where they actually tilt their head into the strike. So their head starts vertical, and then they'll literally turn their head to the left at an angle. And what that does is it changes the angle of the contact of the slap, and it can really affect, it can affect the placement, but more so it affects the amount of contact and the shape of the contact and how clean and how much of the hand actually makes flush contact with the face. So that's one way to flinch. There's two where you can drop your head straight down as a flinch, raise your shoulders and drop your head straight down, and that's, a bad flinch. Godfrey has a combination of two flinches. So he he has a hybrid flinch. So the way that Godfrey does it is he has a shoulder raise, like he'll raise his shoulders, but he also leans to the right. So he's also, not only is he raising his shoulders and adding like a little bit of a block to the angle that you can use to reach his chin and his face, but he also leans away from it, which can, you'll see when I play the video, can really affect the ability to land clean. And so it's really a double whammy when he flinches. But yeah, anyway, let's run this. So you'll see I have a marker where his head is, right? So you're not allowed to move in power slap. So he's set here. This is a measure. He cannot move from here. This is where his head should be when he takes the strike if he doesn't move, okay? Now let's play this. What you'll see is I'm going to stop it at the end and I'm going to screenshot it where his hand actually lands with him. So again, first marker, where his head is on the measure, that's where his head should be when he takes the strike. Second, when I pause it, will be where his head was. It's the same shot. So it's the same angle, same camera angle, same everything, where his head is when he actually gets slapped. So I'll play it first and then we'll go through it. So, I mean, all right, so just look at that. I mean, first of all, raises the shoulders, okay? So when you raise the shoulder, you take away one of the angles that you can use as a path to the target, which is your face, obviously. So the shoulder raise is one thing. I've seen people get called on a flinch just for shoulder raises, not even leaning. And then you'll see, look at how far away he is from where he was set by the time he gets slapped. You'll see that the chief was measured so that his whole hand lands on the face, which is exactly what you want. By the time he hits, the only thing that's touching Godfrey's face is fingertips, and it was still a big slap. So, yeah, as far as flinches go, it just doesn't get any worse. And I worry about this because you have to... Miscalls are a part of sports, but you have to protect the integrity of betting. For a sport that's as new as power slap, part of the reason why it's so cool and so fun is because you can bet on it. The second you can't bet or can't trust that your bets will actually be fair, then the sport takes a huge hit. And I genuinely worry about that with power slap after this match. This cannot happen again, like anytime soon, in my opinion, or power slap is really going to take the brunt of this. And I put this on the commission, man. Power slap, these refs don't work for power slap. They work for the athletic commission. And so, yeah, it's even worse when you're dealing with a commission because they handle UFC, like they handle a lot of combat sports. So yeah, I really do worry about that. And also, so they have slow motion replay. So like we're looking at the slow motion replay. Obviously I slowed it down a little bit just to help, but they have this same slow motion replay. They have actually better real time slow motion replay. This is me screen recording it and then slowing it down. They have just as good, if not better, slow motion replay in real time. And I just don't understand how you can miss this. I mean, it's literally like, it's to the point where all slaps are going to need to be reviewed for everything because, again, you just can't have, like, there's miscalls and then there's this. Like, they're just not even comparable. And we also this isn't even the only miscall in the whole fight, so we haven't even gotten there yet. But anyway, the chief was talking shit to him, saying, keep it up. And apparently these guys are friends. I mean, and apparently they're friendly after the fact. I would be so pissed at Godfrey, man. But that's just me. And anyway, so yeah, you'll see they're like, even when Mark Smith calls it a fair blow, like the chief is shocked. And there's like a little bit of an oh shit face there because I think he was convinced that they were going to call a flinch there, as he should have been. But they call it a fair blow. And so the chief goes back to his corner, gets the stick, heads back, ready to take the slap. And this was the first time that we had ever seen the chief take a slap. So, I mean, I was on edge. And so you'll see Chief when he's going to take the slap, very tense, super intense look on his face. It was honestly, dude, like I was fucking scared through the TV. Look at it. He wasn't even looking at me. So yeah, very intimidating look from the chief. And then Godfrey, I mean, as far as the slap placement goes, it really does suck because this was an amazing slap. Amazing slap. It clipped him right on the side of the jaw, chin area.
Look at that. Perfect placement.
It really was a good, powerful slap. From there, then they show the full body angle. Okay, so they zoom out and you look at his feet. Okay, so if you look closely, when he slaps, there is some foot movement there, man. There is some foot movement. They changed the rules recently to where you can have a heel lift. You can. I mean, they call it minor. Basically, the heel lift just can't be egregious. That's basically what it means. So you're allowed to lift your heel, but it just can't be egregious. But there's still no rotation allowed. And so if you look closely, man, I mean, this was a step. There's just no other way to put it. This was a step. This was another miscall. And my biggest problem with this, like, the thing is like, this shouldn't have even happened. This shouldn't have even been a thing, because Godfrey never should have been slapping. He should have had to take 2 slaps. And there's other levels to, like, the repercussions of someone flinching when you strike and it not being called. Okay, so, like, I always say that there's compounding damage in fights. So whoever gets the slap first gets to slap you, and then you have to slap them already taking a slap. So that diminishes your ability to land a clean slap a little bit. The Chief didn't even get that opportunity to take advantage of the first slap, because, again, he couldn't even land a clean blow because he flinched so bad. So it was basically just like the Chief forfeited the coin toss, essentially. When it boils down to it, it was basically that the Chief forfeited the coin toss. He didn't get a fair chance to slap. He didn't get a fair chance to knock him out, and he didn't even get a fair chance to put damage on him to the point where Godfrey's slap coming back would be a little less powerful or a little less accurate. And so altogether, man, this was the single worst reffing performance I've ever seen in Power Slap. It just was, man. I mean, this goes back to the trials when they didn't even know what they were doing. I mean, dude, we're on Power Slap 9 now. So 9 events. Like, you just cannot have this egregious of miscalls with slow motion replay. It's just not acceptable. I just can't get behind this one, man. And it's not even like I like the Chief and we're friendly and like we talk on Instagram, but it's not like I'm like trying to protect this kid. I'm trying to protect the sport. I'm trying to protect the integrity of the sport and protect the betting, because I care about this sport, and obviously I'm invested in this sport with my YouTube channel. So yeah, it's really not that I'm trying to stick up for the Chief here. I'm trying to stick up for the sport and the integrity of what keeps the sport interesting, which is betting ultimately. So yeah, couldn't have been a worse outcome as far as, like, you know, the results and how the sport looks after the fact. Obviously, crazy KO, highlight reel KO, that's going to get millions and millions and millions of views. He does have a good whack on him. Like, I would never take that away from him, dude. He's got knockout power. And moving forward, so Godfrey wasn't in the rankings. So I bet you, and Chief was like number 8, I think. I should have checked before I made this video, but I'm pretty sure Chief was number 8 and Godfrey wasn't ranked. And I think that they're just going to swap him, man. I believe it was Brandon Rhodes and Josh Newsom who was behind him, I believe. So those guys obviously haven't fought. So unless they want to move those 2 up and then put Godfrey at 10, I think that they'll probably just swap Godfrey and the Chief. So yeah, unfortunate for the Chief, but he'll be back, man. He'll be back. I think he learned a lot from this. And also one thing I wanted to say about how the Chief took the slap, and he said after the fact that, like, he really did want to, like, prove a point by keeping his chin up and not flinching. And there's definitely something to be said for that. But you also do, I mean, it's called defense for a reason. Like, you do want to be, you know, kind of pushing the limits. You don't want to flinch, obviously. You can't flinch. But as far as, like, maybe tucking your chin a little bit and not leaving it straight up in the air, I get it. Like, trying to prove that you're tough or whatever, or not even trying to prove that you're tough, trying to not be, you know, a pussy. Straight up. There's just no other way to say it. And so in that instance, I get it, but I really would have liked to have seen him, you know, at least tuck it a little bit, because the second you leave that out there, that open, it's just so easy to hit. And so, yeah. But yeah, altogether, very unfortunate situation. You know, big highlight knockout, but yeah, I think it was just as much a perfect slap from Godfrey as it was, you know, not being able to take a slap. So yeah, but time will tell. Interesting to see what happens next.